I'm Katie Couric. Tonight, the FBI says it smashed a plot for a terror attack right here on U.S. soil. The target, Fort Dix. The alleged goal,
to kill as many American soldiers as possible.
Also tonight, floodwaters forced thousands of Midwesterners out of their homes as rain-swollen rivers spill over their banks. Greensburg, Kansas before and after. A dramatic new perspective tonight on the destructive power of that killer tornado. And we'll introduce you to a first-of-its-kind encyclopedia that merely includes every living thing. It's all about life.
This is the CBS Evening News with Katie Couric.
Hello, everyone. There hasn't been a terror attack on U.S. soil since 9/11, but tonight federal agents say they just stopped one, a big one. They've arrested 6 Muslims in an alleged plot to attack Fort Dix, the Army base in New Jersey between New York City and Philadelphia. Fort Dix is a major training facility for soldiers heading to Iraq and Afghanistan. Since 9/11, it's been closed to the general public, but on any given day, there are about 14,000 soldiers there. And the FBI says the suspects were out to kill as many of them as possible. We have 2 reports tonight on the alleged plot and how it was stopped, beginning with Justice correspondent Bob Orr.
The plot to attack U.S. soldiers on American soil ended in darkness at this home in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. Ringleaders of a homegrown terror cell with big plans and big mouths were arrested as they tried to buy AK-47 and M16 assault weapons from an FBI agent posing as an arms dealer. For more than a year, federal agents watched and listened to the 6 suspects, shown here in the back of SUVs heading to court. The foreign-born Islamic radicals told informants of their plans to attack Fort Dix and other U.S. military targets in the Philadelphia area.
Today we dodged a bullet. In fact, when you look at the type of weapons that this group was trying to purchase, we may have dodged a lot of bullets.
Law enforcement sources say no attack was imminent, but the suspects who appeared in court today face possible life sentences for plotting to kill as many soldiers as possible. One of the suspects was familiar with Fort Dix, having delivered pizzas to the base from this Camden County pizza shop. And one of his accomplices brazenly bragged to an FBI informant, "My intent is to hit a heavy concentration of soldiers." Sources say the New Jersey cell has no apparent ties to Al-Qaeda or any larger terrorist organization. Still, the suspects, 3 of them in the U.S. illegally, had surveilled multiple targets, including Fort Dix in New Jersey, Dover Air Force Base in Delaware, and the Navy Yard in Philadelphia. The New Jersey cell had already acquired some weapons, and officials say had trained at a Pocono Mountains shooting range for a commando-type assault. A relative of 4 of those charged dismissed the allegations.
The Poconos, it's a vacation. They go there for vacation, that's it. Seriously. They go there, they shoot a little in the shooting range, they want to have fun. I mean, they're guys.
Officials say they were alerted to the suspects by a video store clerk who was asked to make a dub of a videotape the men took themselves, which the government says shows the suspects shooting assault weapons in a malicious style while calling for jihad and shouting in Arabic, Allah Akbar, or God is great.
If we didn't get that tip, I can't be sure what would happen.
Officials say they've caught the absolute core of this plot. But the arrests are just the latest reminder that more than 5.5 years after 9/11, it's not just foreign, but also homegrown terrorists who are plotting to kill Americans. Bob Orr, CBS News, Camden, New Jersey.
This is Armin Katayan. It's here in the heart of the National Counterterrorism Center where the tips are tracked. The seeds of homegrown plots like today's at Fort Dix are hopefully prevented. The founder of the center is John Brennan.
There are other groups like this that are developing the types of material and operational planning that's necessary.
In the wake of 9/11, more than 400,000 names have come under one form of government surveillance or another, from watch lists to wiretaps. But only a handful of terrorists have been convicted in cases with concrete ties to Al-Qaeda. Most notably, shoe bomber Richard Reed and Ayman Farris, sent here to bring down the Brooklyn Bridge. Instead, in the last 6 years, the Justice Department has turned its attention to what it calls preventative prosecutions, in part because what often start out as larger, bolder terrorism cases turn into lesser offenses. According to a study by the NYU Center on Law and Security, of the 550 terrorism cases since 9/11, Only 163 individuals have been prosecuted on terrorism charges. 387 were charged with lesser crimes, like fraud and immigration violations.
The conclusion would be that we've made a lot of hoopla about a number of cases on the grounds of terrorism at the beginning, and they haven't panned out to be terrorism cases.
This is the model for the post-September 11th era.
Many form a familiar pattern, lots of fanfare, supposedly inspired by Al-Qaeda and built around undercover informants. Plots like the Miami 7, accused of eyeing the Sears Tower and federal buildings in Florida, and one man fixated on bombing a suburban shopping mall outside Chicago.
It's far too early to tell into which category today's case will fall, but there's little doubt in today's world, dangerous words and questionable actions bring a big government response, Katie.
Armin Katayan. Armin, thank you so much. Now to a very different kind of threat, the threat from the weather. Flood emergencies have been declared across much of the country's midsection. The areas in blue indicate where the flooding is now or where the National Weather Service predicts it will be soon. Federal disaster crews and supplies are being sent to communities at risk. Nancy Cordes has a first-hand look at their plan of attack against the rising waters.
The same storm system that spawned a rare and devastating F5 tornado in Kansas this week went on to dump torrents of rain on the Central Plains. Now, all that water is tumbling over the banks of the Missouri River and its tributaries, forcing thousands out of their homes. The Army Corps of Engineers is in a race against time, trying to get water pumps and more than 500,000 sandbags to where they're needed most.
We're getting a constant feed from the Weather Service out of their data models.
Meteorologist Dennis Feltgen showed us those models.
It's a major flood. You have to get people out of the way.
They're powerful new flood prediction tools that combine rainfall data from Doppler radar and satellite with water levels from river gauges. All those purple squares in the middle of the U.S. map represent major flooding.
What kind of information does this give you that you didn't have 10 years ago?
10 years ago, we weren't able to nearly forecast with accuracy the rapid rise of the rivers, how fast it was going to go up, where it was going to peak, and when it was going to start coming down.
And as with tornadoes, advanced flood warnings can make all the difference. The famous floods of 1993 killed nearly 50 people and spurred the Weather Service to develop this new system. Using it, they were able to predict Sunday, look at the blue line, that the Grand River near Sumner, Missouri would shoot up 25 feet in 2 days.
Judging by this graph here, they didn't have a whole lot of time. It was a well-predicted event, but still, when you see this water rising in a short period of time, you've got very little time to get out of its way.
One town they're most concerned about right now, Sibley, Missouri, nestled in a bend of the Missouri River. The model predicts the river there will crest at 11 feet above flood stage tomorrow and will remain above flood stage until at least Sunday.
That information was critical to local leaders, emergency management, everybody involved, giving them time to make sure that the levees are shored up. Do we have to sandbag? If we got to do it, we got to do it now.
One positive sign, unlike the floods of 1993, the computers show that in most areas, the flooding will last days, not months. Nancy Cordes, CBS News, Washington.
From floods in the Midwest to fires in the South, wildfires, about 240 of them are burning right now in Florida, helped by bone-dry conditions. And the largest wildfire Georgia has ever seen is creeping southward toward the Florida line. The Georgia fire has burned more than 100,000 acres. And we want to give you a new perspective tonight on another natural disaster, that tornado in Greensburg, Kansas. First, a satellite view of what the town looked like before the tornado hit Friday night. And then the scene after the tornado wiped schools, homes, an entire community right off the map, leaving at least 9 people dead. And tonight from Greensburg, stories of survival and sacrifice. Hari Srinivasan is there.
This police car is among the mangled messes left by the killer tornado that ripped through Greensburg on Friday. There was a police officer inside working to warn others when it was picked up, spun around, and thrown 300 yards.
He was out there trying to protect other people, and unfortunately he just wasn't able to protect himself.
46-year-old Maxville police officer Robert Tim Buckman was taken off life support this morning. His colleagues describe him as an outdoorsman with a sense of humor and as a man who loved to spot storms, a hero.
going to have to die, that's the way he'd want to do it.
As the skies opened up over Greensburg,
It's all gone.
one family is intact thanks to the heroics that saved a mother and child.
He landed in this arm. He was laying in this arm, and I held the wall off of him with this arm.
As the winds of the EF5 town-wide tornado roared through, Kelsey Schroth protected her baby, Jaden, under a pile of rubble until her neighbor Dennis McKinney, whose own house was leveled, pulled her free.
Them people are...
Saved his life.
Yeah, they're the heroes.
For the second day, residents came back to share stories about heroes, stories of survival, and find their buried treasures.
Here's Grandma and Grandpa's wedding picture.
For this family, what was inside this 150-year-old cedar chest was very close to their hearts.
This was my mother's chest, and I'm 83 years old, so it's been a while.
They're coming to terms with the destruction of their home and still finding reasons to laugh.
Why cry? We can't do anything about it, so just go ahead and live on. At least we got our lives.
A lesson from an 83-year-old that'll be taught to the generation that survived this storm. Hari Srinivasan, CBS News, Greensburg, Kansas.
There's more CBS News ahead, including the forgotten victims of the Iraq War, the orphans who have no one to turn to. There is more evidence tonight that the violence in Iraq is spreading to parts of the country that had been relatively peaceful. A suicide car bomber attacked a crowded market today in the Shiite holy city of Kufa. That's about 100 miles south of Baghdad. At least 16 Iraqi civilians were killed. Also today, a Marine platoon commander took the stand at Camp Pendleton at a military hearing on the 2005 Haditha massacre, in which Marines killed 24 Iraqi civilians. First Lieutenant William Callip said that he ordered several houses cleared, but he was shocked to learn women and children were killed. Callip testifying under immunity at the hearing for Captain Randy Stone, a Marine lawyer accused of failing to investigate the deaths. All told, 4 officers and 4 enlisted men are charged in the case. Meanwhile, a very disturbing report today on the war's youngest victims. The report by Save the Children says the child mortality rate in Iraq is increasing more rapidly than anywhere else in the world. 1 out of every 8 Iraqi children now dies of disease or violence before the age of 5. Countless others have lost their parents in the war. Mark Strassman reports from Baghdad.
They aren't hard to find on Baghdad's streets. Orphans like Fatima selling incense for pennies. At 11 years old, dodging cars, she's barely more than a beggar. We're orphans, Fatima says. Why don't you go to school? Because we need the money. Baghdad has thousands of orphans, though no one knows the exact number. Too many for the 8 orphanages in Iraq's capital city. Some facilities crowd 10 kids to a small bedroom.
Other than the orphanages, will anyone take these children?
No.
Qamar Al-Jani coordinates orphan programs for the Red Crescent, the Arab Red Cross. The Iraqi government does little to help, and for complicated religious and cultural reasons, Iraqi orphans are mostly scorned and seldom adopted. They're scared, and many of them are angry and more violent than other kids.
I think that I'm going to cry because I have nothing to do for them. I have nothing to say for them.
Adults who work with orphans here are scared for them and for Iraq. They say, don't forget, Saddam Hussein was raised as an orphan.
The last time Fahad saw his parents, militiamen were taking them to their deaths. A Sunni Muslim, he won't play with Shia children. Ayat's a Shia who says she can't live with Sunnis. This is how it begins. To survive, Mushtaq quits school. He learns on the street selling perfumes and gum to strangers. In faces like his, Qamar Al-Jabi sees Iraq's real worry. Its next generation of insurgents and terrorists.
There is no future for any Iraqi people, not just for the orphanage, not just for the orphan babies, for all the Iraqi people. We don't have any future.
Ask Fatima about her future. It's simply survival. Mark Strassman, CBS News, Baghdad.
Elsewhere overseas in Northern Ireland, a scene today that would have been unimaginable just a few months ago. Once bitter enemies, Protestant leader Ian Paisley and Martin McGuinness, a former member of the IRA, became partners. They'll share power in a new government, part of a deal brokered by British Prime Minister Tony Blair. The goal is to end 3 decades of violence in Northern Ireland that has claimed 3,500 lives. We'll have much more CBS News in a moment. A major twist tonight in the ongoing debate over the death penalty. Right now, more than 3,300 inmates in this country are awaiting execution. Most states use lethal injection, and some have a doctor or a nurse administer the deadly dose. But now, after 2 botched executions, a number of medical groups are taking a stand. Randall Pinkston has tonight's Eye on Crime.
These convicted killers in North Carolina were supposed to have been executed by now. Marcus Robinson shot a 17-year-old boy in the face. Archie Billings raped and murdered an 11-year-old girl. Alan Holman gunned down his wife in a gas station parking lot.
Please, God. Oh, please, I don't want to die now. No.
Linda Holman was murdered almost 10 years ago.
It was my mom.
In March, Holman's daughter Deborah thought the ordeal was finally coming to an end with her stepfather's execution.
It's just waiting to happen, and you just want to go on with your life.
But just 2 days before Holman's execution, it was abruptly canceled because the state couldn't find a doctor to attend and assist if necessary.
It's that thing that just hangs over.
It's the one thing you want to see done, too.
Absolutely. It won't bring my mom back, but it's justice.
The execution dates for 5 North Carolina inmates on death row have been postponed indefinitely because the North Carolina Medical Board has threatened sanctions for any physician who's present at a lethal injection.
We don't kill patients. That's the bottom line.
Dr. Charles Vanderhorst, who lobbied the medical board, says doctors don't belong in death chambers because it violates the physician's oath.
We're acting as murderers on behalf of the state.
Wait a minute, that's a pretty strong description of a doctor's participation as a murderer?
What the state is asking the doctor to do is mix the chemicals to get the needle into the vein properly, to judge the dose that's correct for this particular person, and to make sure they're dead. That's committing murder.
Of 38 states with the death penalty, North Carolina is one of 9 which have suspended executions because of problems finding doctors or after lethal injections were botched.
It's just a bunch of hogwash.
But Wake County Prosecutor Colin Willoughby says medical boards should not be able to overrule the criminal justice system.
We as a society need to decide, are we going to have a death penalty or not? If we are, then the focus of that penalty shouldn't be the personal comfort of the last 10 minutes of a convicted murderer's life.
North Carolina is suing the medical board to prohibit punishing doctors who participate in executions, and the state may have an unexpected ally.
I want closure for the victim's family, my family, myself.
Convicted murderer Alan Holman wants to die. But until the courts weigh in, Deborah Hartless and others will have to wait. Randall Pinkston, CBS News, Raleigh, North Carolina.
If you haven't noticed, we are not alone. We humans share this planet with millions of other life forms. And soon you'll be able to check out all of them online, interactively, for free. Here's Daniel Seberg.
It's one-stop shopping for information about every species.
Jesse Ozabel is a lead organizer behind an unprecedented effort to put every known species in the world today, all 1.8 million of them, online in an encyclopedia of life.
So trees, yes?
Yes, all kinds of trees.
Flowers?
Flowers,
yes.
Marine mammals, fish, jellies.
Okay. Humans?
Humans.
Sure, you could look up, say, polar bear in a book and get this, but on their website, you'd see this. Whether it's polar bears, the death cap mushroom, or the recently discovered Yeti crab, you'll find images, an evolutionary tree, detailed maps, even an animal's endangered status.
For now, there's only a handful of demonstration pages, but in a year, the encyclopedia will have 35,000 fully interactive pages. And, organizers hope, a dedicated fan base.
We hope that the different communities, the mollusk community or the scarab community or the fern community, will get very excited about having good pages in the Encyclopedia of Life.
Information can be adjusted for students or scientists. For a novice, this page is just about polar bears. The more advanced site switches to its Latin name and offers a deeper perspective.
For example, it brings up a scan of an article written in the year 1774, A Voyage Towards the North Pole.
The site is written by scientists, but anyone can submit material for consideration. The $50 million project is underwritten by nonprofit groups like the MacArthur Foundation.
Here we have the chance to create one of the greatest encyclopedias of all time, all life in one place on a screen accessible to everyone.
It's an ambitious global undertaking expected to take 10 years. Think of it as the evolution of the world meets the World Wide Web. Daniel Seberg, CBS News, New York.
And I didn't even know there was a mollusk community. That is the CBS Evening News. I'm Katie Couric. Thanks so much for watching. Good night.